Greetings Traveler, Challenger here. Today I am playing Diablo 2 Resurrected with the Warlock, but since I already tried to make things harder on myself by using only level 1 spells, and I promised that after Summoner I will do a melee variant, let's do that, but make it a little bit more miserable for me. As you can see by the thumbnail, I will only use Runewords for myself and my mercenary. I did 2 such challenges already with Paladin and Barbarian, and it was great fun. So I am curious how new broken class will stack up against the runner-ups. So let the challenge begin. Rules: only using runeword items, playing with melee eldritch build, using charms and sockets, run ends with killing Bale on hell. This is solo self-found, no shared stash used. Most of you already know this, but to preface, Runewords are items that consist of base item with sockets and runes put into them in certain combination. Base item cannot be magic, it can only be grey, either normal or ethereal. Also, to create a runeword that meets exactly 2 runes, like let's say steel tier L, base item must have exactly 2 open sockets, otherwise it will not work. In other videos of this kind I was using white armor pieces in slots where I cannot wear runewords. That means I was wearing white gloves, boots and belt, but here I will opt only to use belt, since just playing without it would be very painful, and I feel like it would artificially increase the difficulty to no real benefit. This is my 3rd Warlock run ever and first time playing this build, and immediately I am running into an issue. Both abilities that are available at level 2 are targeting weapons, as Levitation Mastery increases damage, attack rating, critical strike chance, while also lowering the requirements of the weapon, but only if you have weapon in the air, as you know, levitation. Same thing with Hexbane. It provides more magic damage and attack rating for weapon, while also cursing the opponents by reducing their defense and attack rating, but it cannot be applied to fists. I decided to do this run like this basically because of 2 features. First is that Warlock can wield 2-handed weapons in one hand while still being able to hold shield in the other, and second is Levitation Mastery. Since I am trying to do a melee build, it would be crucial to get increasingly heavier and powerful bases for runewords, so I don't need to put as many points into strength or dexterity. I can put them into vitality to survive the fights. In the meantime, while I was trying to get to Countess, I took one skill that can help me now. Since I don't want to rely on summons, I opted for something else, and that is Sigil Lethargy. It reduces attack and run speed of the monsters, as well as lowers their defense while making them take increased damage, so in the situation where I have the ability to deal damage, this is very useful. In Black Marsh there is a Forgotten Tower. That is the home to aforementioned Countess, and she is the best way to get runes in normal. She can drop every rune from L up to Ral. That is L, Eld, Tier, Nef, F, Eth, Tal and Ral. Not every rune is needed now, but that does not mean that they won't be useful in the future, and the pool of what runes she can drop changes based on difficulty. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. As you probably already know this, runewords can only be done in 4 different equipment slots. Those are 2 hands, body armor and helmet. The first 2 runewords available at earliest being steel weapon that can be done in swords, axes and maces, and requires 2 runes, tier L. Second runeword is Nadir. It needs Nef tier to be created, and it is a helmet. That isn't that amazing, but it has Cloak of Shadow charges, which can be useful. Both of those items are available at level 13. Of course, those are not the only ones that interests me. At level 15 there is Malice for melee weapons, if L, F, and that is vastly superior to Steel, and only requires 2 more levels. Last one is Stealth Body Armor, at level 17, Tal F, which is the most recognizable early game runeword of all. Thanks to faster cast rate, faster hit recovery and faster movement it provides, all the necessary bonuses for aspiring adventurers. Finally, With level 13 I am able to wear the steel sword I created. So it is about time to get some abilities. First one available at level 6 is Cleave. It attacks all enemies in an arc with increased attack rating, speed and damage. Pretty great for packs of monsters and first attack skill. At level 12 there are two skills available. Echoing Strike creates an echo of my weapon to pierce through the enemies, dealing percentage of weapon damage with more and more echoes as skill progresses. Also, it increases damage and flat damage as well as attack rating. Last skill for now is Hex Purge. It has a chance to curse the enemy for a chance to erupt, dealing magic damage in a radius. It also increases attack rating and speed. Seems it might work very well with both Cleave and Echoing Strike for more area damage. With just that weapon equipped and few skills at my disposal, suddenly clear speed, well, it exists prior to previous runs. That said, I did a couple more visits to fill my supply, and I also found a set quilted armor that is Arctic 4. Shame I cannot use it, but here is my stash just before Monastery. I am missing those L runes for Malice, but still I was able to hit level 17 to wear my Stealth, Steel and Nadir. So now to pick up the pace in terms of game completion. Now of course nothing will stand much chance in Act 1 at this level, but still let me show you the Smith dying and then Andariel getting cut down with a few precise hits. Also skill should be on Barbarian, he sorely lacks the early game pack clear. First Runeword that can be done for Archer is Zephyr, and that is at level 21, so I don't really intend to keep her around. Instead I hired Kasim with Prayer to help me replenish some life in the fights, and he can ease the burden of me being alone in the front line. Also, he will use the equipment much better than the Rogue. It seems that just before Andariel I hit level 18, so I can take two another skills. First is Blade Warp. It throws the blade that deals damage and on impact Warlock gets teleported to it. Also it has collision, so you cannot warp through walls. Second skill is Psychic Ward. It conjures a shield that absorbs damage and can stun melee attackers for some time. The tooltip does not specify this, but seems that it only absorbs physical damage, just like bone armor for Necromancer. It is a rare moment that I am happy to find an L rune, but yeah, here we are. With that I can at least do a weapon for Kasim, that is Malice. Some increased damage, attack rating, lowering monsters' defenses, and 100% chance of open wounds with prevent monster healing. I really want to do the one for myself, as triggering open wounds on everyone with Cleave might be quite powerful. Currently my plan is to stay as much to original plan as possible, so being a melee warlock. That is why I am using Cleave instead of Echoing Strike, even though the latter is possibly a vastly superior skill, but I feel that will be not much of a challenge, and I still want to test how good this character actually is as a frontliner. Arriving at Duriels, I wasn't really afraid. A couple of Thawing Potions can take care of Vitamin C deficiency, which causes increased cold damage, and Lethargy is so strong at this point that he can barely move and attack. On top of that, I was able to keep Kasim alive, which does not happen very often. He dropped what? Two set longswords. In both cases it is Cleglow's Tooth. That is weird. In Kurast I got myself a Jade figurine for another 20 maximum life, got to Spider's Cave to grab the Eye of Kalim, and shortly after I hit level 21. So now I have access to first Shield Runeword, that is Ancient's Pledge, Ral Ord Tal. It provides massive boost to all resistances, and 10% of damage taken goes to mana. It can also be done in Warlock specific shield tomes, but finding a good one with 3 open sockets is impossible at this stage. So Warlock is the only class that can do this. Two-handed weapon in one hand and shield in the other. But now wait, a second, Barbarian can do the same with swords. And yes, you are right, but he does not benefit from two-handed damage then, but Warlock does. and it is way scarier than you think. So for the first time, I am, let's say, for the lack of better wording, fully equipped. There are no major improvements that can be done in normal. Maybe Malice weapon once I get a good base for it. But other than that, it is unlikely that something is going to change on gear front. That said, once I was getting done with various parts of Kalim, we arrived at Travincal to deal with the council, and oh boy did we deal with them. I mean, Kasim rushed head on into the fray, killing one of the elites, but also dying in the process, while I was just joyfully stood in the back trimming their heads, but he was one that got us the flail. Going to Mephisto for the first time can be quite daunting, especially when I am missing half of my equipment by this point. I could easily max out my resistances and boost my life. That's why I got hit pretty hard once and had to get back out to town. Also, I did not feel like killing the Bloodlords, which were causing much of the damage to me and Kasim, but sorry not sorry, I just wanted to be done with this one. It's clear that Cleave is a tool against packs of monsters and not really intended for single target damage. That can of course be improved by adding Crushing Blow and Deadly Strike, but at this level opponents like Isual or Eniac bosses are more like a war of attrition. I just need to outlast them. At level 24 I have access to Eldritch Blasts. It blasts enemies with magical damage and refreshes the duration of active hex. It also provides some life and mana steal. It seems that by emitting this pulsing aura for set amount of time, hurting the enemies that are under hexes. So the tooltip of this ability is a bit misleading, at least for me, because it provides you with the duration that ability is going to last, but also lists magic damage that it deals with life and mana leech. But at first glance I thought that leech is happening of the magic damage it deals, but as we know, leech is only happening from the physical damage, so it just gives you those passively for the duration of the spell. If I was a new player, it would be very confusing for me. Also, it seems I was a bit wrong about the psychic ward, as I initially thought it just absorbs physical damage. But no, it absorbs all types of damage, but seems like not fully, and what I mean by that is not entirely depleting first, completely not touching my health, while it is active, but rather it bleeds some of the damage into the health pool while still absorbing majority of the damage I am dealt. It is clearly visible while I am getting hit by Diablo's Lightning Breath or Firestorm. Honestly, I didn't believe that this skill would be that good. Breaking the siege by killing Overseer Shank gives me the ability to summon an item, and Larzuk always makes that the maximum number of slots based on an item and its item level, so in case where I am looking for a base to create certain runeword, this can be an invaluable option further down the line and can make or break the run. Despite only having 4 items on me, my resistances are not that bad. That is mostly thanks to Ancient's Blade Shield and some charms. But going into Nightmare I will have a 40% penalty on all of them, so getting the scroll from Mala by freeing Anya is always a good idea, although next difficulty I really need to get better gear to not succumb to death. For some reason I refused to switch my weapons to Malice, as I wanted to find an exceptional base for it. Since I only gotten one L rune, I wanted to make it count, but seeing how Steel Sword already outlived its usefulness, I am inclined to upgrade it at first chance I get. At level 30 I have access to the final skill of the Eldritch tree, Mirrored Blades, and much like Cleave you need to be in melee range to use this. It creates a duplicate of weapon that can deal additional damage, so with one action you are attacking a single target multiple times, kind of like Zeal or Fury, but only for one target. This would be a tool to kill the bosses. Bail now, and this fight took some time, mostly due to my own stupidity of not changing a weapon, but he has just so much health. In the fight I kept cycling between Hexbane and Purge, as I cannot really tell which one does more damage, and sometimes used Cleave to deal with the tentacles. Whole ordeal just a bit of a drag, as this guy is tanky as hell. I leveled to 31 with this kill. I put some points into strength and dexterity to get my inventory, and rest is vitality as always. I have 1 point in lethargy and majority of my skills are divided in Eldritch Tree, with nothing yet in Demon. For gear, Merc has Malice and Stealth. I have Stealth, Nadir, Steel and Ancient's Pledge. Nightmare is the difficulty where the biggest power spike happens in this challenge. Sure, you can get the best Runewords in Hell, as only the highest level runes drop there, but here is where the bulk of the actually achievable items can be made. Moreover, they can be farmed and created really easily. Before making Forgotten Tower my second home for some time, let's do some due diligence and at least free Kain. And now to Black Marsh to make countless Countess runs in order to get infinite supply of runes. I am looking to replace every part of my gear, and in Nightmare Countess can drop all runes from normal, but also every rune up to Ko, so that is Ord, Fool, Amn, Sol, Shale, Dol, Hell, Io, Loom and Ko. With those runes and new rune words added with Reign of the Warlock update, there is a lot of farming to be done. After some farming, I used my normal Larzuk quest to create a 4 open socket Partisan, and with the runes I gathered, I created an Insight for myself. This is for sure the easiest, most powerful weapon I can get at this stage of the game. With that Meditation aura, I don't need to fear about mana. It also has massive damage and attack rating, critical strike, some attributes and even magic find. I wish I had slightly faster base, but it is hard to complain changing from Steel or even Malice. I also did a strength for my mercenary. With 25% crushing blow, it is an amazing tool to deal with healthy enemies, especially bosses, but it also has 7% life leech, 20 strength, which can provide some self-sustain in battle. This is something that I want to do for myself too, but I need a high attack speed base weapon. Lastly for now, I did a lore helmet, purely because I cannot find a free open socket base, but this is still very good. 1 to all skills, some energy, lightning resistance, damage reduced by 7 and mana after kill. This setup isn't nearly complete. I am still looking for a base for my armor and possibly a better shield, but what I have so far, especially new weapon, is already streets ahead of what I was rocking earlier. With Cleave, I can now clear entire packs with 1 sweeps, and Mirror Blade, thanks to raw damage potential, is doing a mincemeat out of tough enemies like Andariel here. Now, Prayer Mercenary was never something I had in mind for this challenge. Sure, I could equip him with Insight and Cure to make 3 times the healing, but I always thought I will end up with Might to boost the damage massively. But more and more I was thinking that crowd control is actually more beneficial, so for now I opted for Holy Freeze to slow down enemies, making them easier to hit and less punishing for me. So if I am doing this treatment to monsters and they are miserable, if they are doing that to me, it is even worse, as Cleave is almost not casting at this stage. So I opted to fix that by getting a different shield, and one of the earliest, most reliable sources of Cannot Be Frozen, Rime, Shale, F. It provides bonuses for block, mana regeneration, 25 to all resistances, Cannot Be Frozen, extra gold and magic find. As another layer of effectiveness for this build, I spent 4 hard points to get couple of skills, mainly Summon Goatman and Consume from the Demon Tree. This allowed me to sacrifice my summon to get some maximum life, run speed and specifically by sacrificing Goatman, some enhanced damage and that crushing blow chance. Also, I cannot have Goatman alive while Consume is working. I would need to invest some points into Demonic Mastery to have the ability to control more demons at the same time. With that, I delved into Maggot Lair for the Staff of Kings. Then we explored the haunting halls of the Viper Temple for the amulet, to enter Arcane Sanctuary for sole purpose of defeating the summoner. And oh my god, what a treasure he dropped. Small Charm with 11% fire resistance and 10 life. Amazing. Consume duration at this stage is very short, and I mostly took it to deal with bosses. So with the mirrored blades at the ready, we went hunting for Duriel. It is apparent that my mercenary needs better protection and self-sustain. But as for me, Psychic Ward together with a couple of foaming potions is doing just fine, so there wasn't much issues dealing with him. At this point I had been playing this for some time, and honestly I forgot about the fact that I have Blade Warp, which is perfect for the first half of the Kura's jungle, and it lets me skip those tedious pathways to get faster to Spider's Cave and Flayer's jungle. Lower Kurast, and especially this part with 2 hats and bonfire in the middle, is known for its ability to drop high runes, and it's a premium spot to farm them. Many times in my challenges I came here while it was terrorized to get the runes, but I also discovered that it was worth the effort to just run around the area opening various containers, as treasure can be found anywhere. I started using Hex Purge more than Bane, since Cleave can be extremely slow and the latter Hex does not provide attack speed. Also, dealing with monster packs is way easier with it, since there can be multiple explosions triggered at the same time, but I recognize that Bane in the long run should be more powerful against the single targets. Bosses feel kind of the same now. Hit them whenever possible to trigger Crashing Blow, protect Mercenary so he can do the same, and just survive. It is working good so far, but I have strong suspicion that in Hell this might not be as easy if I don't get the right gear. Mephisto dropped a normal unique 2-handed sword, Shadowfang. Unlike Paladin or Barbarian, Warlock does not have any skills that boost his resistances. Moreover, he does not have the advantage Paladin has with his shield, that gives him the bonuses and can be easily made into Spirit, taking care of it in just one item. Here, there will be a struggle to max them out, and since I am constantly in melee range, I think it is almost required to do so for Hell, and I have something very specific in mind to counter that, and I just need the right gear. This whole act was as unremarkable as they come. I didn't get any good drops along the way to Chaos Sanctuary, cleared the whole place fairly easily, with the slight problems with the Infector of Souls and his Venom Lords, but only because my aforementioned fire resistance is very bad, and backing down was one of my main strategies here. Similar situation with Diablo. Bastard deals a lot of damage with his attacks, but it is still better than being swarmed by Venom Lords and getting blasted with the fire from every possible angle. That said, couple of attacks with my beautiful polearm and he is down. He dropped a unique great sword, the Patriarch. Are you guys familiar with the river drop strategy from StarCraft? You are basically taking a shuttle, loading a river unit into it that has exploding bombs and go off harassing the living shit out of your enemy. I feel kind of the same here, except I am blade warping on top of the pack and just cleaving the demons left and right. Equally satisfying. I ran through most of this act until the Ancients. I did many resets, as once I tried to fight them when one of them had cursed, and it almost ended my run, so I did not want to take chances and found a combination when none of them had Stone Skin or Curse. Only then it went rather smooth as I divided them one by one and picked them out. Oh, a little late, but I finally found my first free open socket body armor. Sadly, a normal level light plate, but that's better than nothing. With it, I can create a Warlock-oriented armor, Authority, Hell, Shale, Ral. It provides 2 to Warlock skills, 20% faster recovery, some enhanced damage, fire resistance. It also has 2 procs, 10% chance to cast level 15 Miasma Chain on striking, and 2% chance to cast level 10 Psychic Ward when struck. Both of those can be super powerful, although for me probably the latter will be more useful, as I am constantly in the thick of things and already using the skill, but here it is on the higher base level, and it also benefits from the hardpoint synergies that I have, making it more powerful than the one I am casting normally. With the armor damage somehow got so high that I was afraid for a second how powerful I am. I mean, Jesus, I'm smacking Bale over his stupid head Like this was the only thing I was doing my whole life, and dude is just taking it while his life is flashing before his very eyes. He drops set light plated boots, Vidala's Fetlock. I finished Nightmare with level 59 with most of the attributes put into Vitality. I maxed out Cleave, put some point into various skills either for synergies or to have better single target damage, and also a couple of points into Consume so the buff would be stronger and last a little longer. Gear-wise, my Merc is in dire need of upgrades, as the only nice thing he has is the strength. I have my Authority, Insight, Rhyme and Lore, so now it is time to get some new stuff if I want to take on the challenges in Hell. Current problem is clear. I have no chance in next difficulty until I have a reliable way to improve my resistances and overall damage reduction. There are ways to do so with items for resistances, but damage reduction could also be done through skills Blood Oath, which can take some of the damage I am taking onto the demon, but that presents another issue. I would need to have a demon active, but I want to use Consume, so in order to do that, Demonic Mastery must be at level 10, only then I could use both. So I had this Dark Tome with +1 to Flame Wave and Bind Demon, and the latter one interests me the most. I used another Larzu quest to get 2 sockets into it and did another Rhyme, since I still need Cannot Be Frozen, but Bind Demon especially can be very useful, since I can get it in this way without spending 6 skill points to get it, so my plan into getting 2 demons is so much closer now. After hitting level 67, I decided to use my respec, as the build was all over the place and I needed some specific things to make this work. So now I get enough strength and dexterity for my insight. Rest is vitality. 1 point into lethargy, maxed out cleave and purge. Got couple of points into levitation mastery and mirror blades. Now 10 points into demonic mastery, and the rest is divided between consume and blood oath. Now this setup allows me to get some tanky and useful demon like Hephasto, while still being able to consume Goatman for additional damage, and Blood Oath keeps my demon healthy while taking all the punishment, while also taking some of the damage dealt to me. Finally, I found a helmet base with 3 sockets, so it's time to upgrade that nasty nadir that my mercenary has. Shale Io Soul makes Bulwark, with myriad useful stats for survival, faster hit recovery, life leech, vitality increased to maximum life, life replenishment and flat damage reduction. It is a powerhouse of an item, and it is very possible that I will also striving for one, once I will get another base. I managed to hit level 75 before I decided to move on, but still I have a couple of nice drops to show you of what I found during the farming process. I wasn't able to find all of what I needed in Nightmare even after extensive farmings of the terror zones. I only got a couple of good armor bases that might be useful later, but my resistances currently are just bad. There are still at least 2 items that I would like to get, and I am about 3 runes away from them. Also, my supply of runes is not that bad, although the highest one is just Io, and while I could transform some of the lower ones into getting, let's say, Ko, it won't fix the problem immediately for now. So let's try to push on carefully and see what happens. What I need currently is either Treachery armor that would vastly improve my survivability, while I could still swap to Authority once Fate procs, but also Obedience weapon would be amazing for that insane damage, but it also provides some resistances. Ideally, it would be both, but finding Ko, Fal and Lem seems like a stretch at this point, but one can only hope these days. For a while I was still using Hephaestus from Nightmare and change him later for Rakanishu, but really what I would like is the demon that has Cursed and an aura like Holy Thunder or Holy Freeze. That way when it hits, the amplified damage it spreads to all the monsters. It would help with physical immunities and overall damage while I am still rocking that insight. I skipped farming Countess for now, for the sole purpose of getting a good roll on Smith. He has a very aggressive AI and can have a great modifiers that I am looking for. And while it took me a moment to get something good, I had bind him with Fanaticism Aura, Cursed and Extra Strong, and that is completely fine with me. So now that I have a proper Vanguard and can break immunities much better, have increased attack speed and damage, I decided to go back to Forgotten Tower in order to possibly get the last runes I need to complete the setup and push on to the end. While farming, I also had a very bittersweet moment in form of this 4 open socket Monarch, but it turns out it was ethereal. So moments gone, guys. But couple runs later I actually had a legitimate one from the armor rack. Still, I cannot really use it if I want to keep the Cannot Be Frozen and my Bind Demon. On one of the runs I finally found a second 3 open socket helmet in form of Tiara, so I can have a bulwark on my own, which I actually created as it gives me an additional defense layer, and on the very same run a unique Yari dropped, that is Hon Sundan, a great and versatile weapon thanks to those 3 open sockets and Crushing Blow. I did about 40 runs and honestly I was just tired of it. The highest rune I got was Mal, but it is kind of useless for me, as I would still need different high runes to make something of it. I also got 2 iron runes and a couple of really good drops like unique mesh armor, shaft stop, and even a grand charm that turned out to be a Warlock Eldritch skiller with 11 life. Look, I am doing Runewords only run, so maybe give me runes, game? Why I am getting all these amazing uniques, like this Cuirass Duriel Shell, just please let me go. While I can still die very fast if I am not careful, as resistances are still a hot dumpster fire, damage is surprisingly amazing. With that Fanaticism, amplified damage and lethargy on top, my trusty insight is still doing amazing, chopping Andariel to pieces. Usually in those challenges I am skipping Radamant and Anya in Hell, as simply at this point it is not worth the hassle, but in the case of the Warlock somehow, I still lack the points even now. There is so many moving parts that can be improved and that is staggering. Oh yeah, and in the beginning of the sewers I found another amazing piece, a unique Russet armor, Scolder's Ire, wet dream of every magic finder. Before I move forward, I cubed some of my runes to create a Lamb rune, then added 2 sockets into Dusk Shroud I had and finally created a Smoke armor for massive increase in defenses and resistances. Since I cannot find Lamb to do treachery, this will do nicely, and although I will lose some of my power, I can still swap them if I feel like it. I did the armor mainly to repair my lightning resistance, as I was very much afraid of the beetles and their charge bolts, but thanks to that and Psychic Ward, it is really not that bad. I can cleave almost anything and immunities are never an issue, so not much can stop me now. Seriously, this should be uniques only run. Not that I'm complaining or anything, but what the hell? Mighty Scepter Heaven's Light, with massive damage, Crushing Blow, 2 open sockets, increased attack speed and 2 to Paladin skill levels. Amazing weapon. Oh, and a key. I already have 2 from Countess. As you can see, even without Authority armor, which now sits on my mercenary, so he can at least benefit from it, bosses are still about as difficult as before. So yeah. With the help of the Blade Warp, I quickly managed to get a Jade figurine, followed by Kalim's eye and then his brain, but also Ndugu dropped another unique. This time Elegant Blade Blood Moon, with massive enhanced damage and life leech, as well as chance of open wounds and even some blood golem charges. Pretty interesting weapon. I am giving this game one last chance to redeem itself and give me the runes I want, because realistically I don't really need them. I think I could just finish the game at this point, but this build is really fun to play, powerful as hell even when I am using only 4 items. So I ran around the lower Kurast for a while, approximately 3 hours or so, and results are not great, but also not terrible. For example, I found this 4 open socket Colossus Volge that I can use for another insight, but at this moment it is a bit too heavy. And as for runes, I found only one, but it was a Vex rune. Currently useless for me, but high rune nonetheless. Okay, let's wrap this up, shall we? First, the last book from the ruined temple, then Heart from the sewers, and now the final council confrontation. What really surprised me is how well we are holding on as a party. You see, we are getting blasted by the members and their hydras, yet I always have time to react, heal and chop off their heads. Mephisto was yet again just a speed bump, a tiny fart in the wind, a pimple on the nose that you can squeeze out on the first try. You get my point. Even with suboptimal weapon at this point, fights with bosses are just not really challenging. And he dropped another banger unique, Serpent Skin Armor, Skin of Viper Magi, although it rolled pretty bad on resistances. It still extremely bothers me that Cannot Be Frozen does not work against Holy Freeze, although if there would be cold immune monsters that would be not slowed by that, the effectiveness of my mercenary would also be lower, so I guess it's fair, but it's still such a pain. Now the moment of truth, last chance to get something good. I did a little prayer beside the Hellforge as I smashed the Soulstone to pieces. And oh my god, it actually worked, as I got a pull rune. And you might be thinking, but that is not needed for obedience. True, but I can do something else with it, something that I did not create in those challenges, but it will need to wait for the next act. Playing through the game in so many different ways until this point really made me appreciate the melee builds, and up until this point Fury Druid was probably my favorite one. But this is really something else. The combination of Blade Warp into 360 Cleave, Shield and Demon that can do whatever you want is just crazy fun. Oh, I did not expect that. My mercenary was insta-gipped by Lightning Breath of Diablo, but the Smith is standing like a pillar of salt, unmoving, unwavering, in the coming storm, and thanks to Lethargy, Lord of Terror is barely able to move or deal any potential damage. He dropped a unique ancient armor, Silks of the Victor. Normally here I am doing a little summary of the run and the whole build, but I have one more thing to create. For that I need to dispatch Shank for the last time and use the reward from the quest on this ethereal Highland Blade I found. I also had to cube some runes to get another lamb, and now the culmination of the process and farming comes to fruition, as I am able to create one last weapon for me. Shale, Pull, Mal and Lamb makes Oath. This weapon is amazing. It has 30% chance to cast level 20 Bone Spirit on striking. It has massive increase to attack speed. It dislikes the demon very much, gets tons of enhanced damage, prevents monster healing, and even got charges for Heart of Wolverine and Iron Golem on top of that. It is indestructible, which is exactly why I used an ethereal base for it. It is a shame I am getting this only now, as increase in damage is just staggering. I want to put it to the test and holy shit, it feels like the footage is sped up. I am swinging so fast and attacks are crazy powerful. This was the first run after I got the weapon, and check out what dropped. A unique Battle Boots War Traveler. Seriously, I don't have any magic find on this character. Just 25% from the rhyme, and I am getting so much stuff I cannot use. This challenge was tougher than the first one I did with the Warlock with just level 1 skills. First I had to be in melee range constantly, making me vulnerable and making my build concentrate on survival for the vast majority of it. That said, melee Warlock is just so fun to play. The analogy to the river drop I made earlier is 100% accurate, and with the addition of the right demon to curse your targets and lethargy to make them take even more damage is just deadly. Additionally, Hex, Bane and Purge, depending on which one you will be using, are dealing magic damage, which is the greatest one in the game. So even if someone's immunity cannot be broken with lethargy, it is still easier to deal with someone than other classes. Oh, at some point I accidentally misclicked and consumed my beloved Smith, and I had to go back to River of Flame to get Hephasto, with something comparable to before, and got one with Cursed and Holy Fire. With just 4 items equipped, the amount of damage I can deal and take at the same time is amazing. It is far from the greatest build ever, as I am missing 6 pieces, but I put a lot of time in farming and got very lucky with that pull rune by the end to create an oath, which is more than I could hope for. As for the skills, Psychic Ward really carried me in this run, as it was allowing me to take so much more damage than normally, and because the synergies are Cleave and Levitation Mastery, I never had to put more points into the skill itself and could focus on something else. Also, Bind Demon with Blood Oath makes immense difference in my survival, as I had about 25% of the damage taken going to him, and even though I didn't have Engorge to heal him, he almost never needed that, and if push comes to shove, I could always teleport to town to heal and drop the curses. Melee Warlock himself is also an excellent boss killer. With those mirrored blades, mine were not maxed out as I had to focus on being healthy rather than doing more devastation, but with Crushing Blow and good weapon, bosses were just falling. Bale here was a bit of an oddball, pun intended, as Mercenary is using my trusty Insight now for that mana regeneration. I finished entire run with level 82, which is on the higher side. I put a lot of points into strength, some dexterity, and the rest was vitality. Got 1 point into lethargy, maxed out Cleave and Hex Purge, almost maxed out Levitation Mastery, and got some points into Mirrored Blades. Had enough points into Demonic Mastery to have 2 demons, fortified Blood Oath and Consume, and had that Bind Demon from the shield. Equipment for Mercenary at the end was my Authority Armor, Insight Polearm and Bulwark Helmet. As for me, it was the powerful Oath Sword, Smoke Armor for resistances, Rime Shield for Cannot Be Frozen and resistances, and Bulwark for damage reduction. Also, majority of my resistances came from the various charms that I found along the way. Nothing spectacular aside from that small charm I showed you before, but together they add up to a nice sum. This was tough, very grindy, but also extremely fun. Figuring out how to survive while also pushing on with the damage was great. The entire build is of course not optimal at all with this setup, but it wasn't aiming to be. I highly recommend you to try it. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for more games and gaming videos. Like it if you liked it and subscribe for more content. Challenger departs.